If someone were to ask me what's the best thing I can do to improve my performance in Siege, I would say build dupes. If this isn't super obvious, just realize that not only does everybody run pretty much the same thing on defense, but also they spam the same comps onto every tower. So if you only have one or two counters to whatever the meta comps are, you're forced to improvise something and just crossing your fingers that it works. Not that this is a bad thing, it can actually be fun to do that, theory crafting and that kind of stuff. But if you're looking to improve your offensive performance, use counters that work with near 100% success rates, which means use the same counter that you know works well, or at least something very similar to it. And I understand that violent procs exist, but if you watch my siege replays and see my runes, I'm not always using violent on offense. And defenses, we all know, have insane violent rates vast majority of the time, and that means I'm often getting wins despite violent procs. And that should be your goal in offense. Can this offense win even if they violent proc? Again, I completely understand that sometimes the defense is just completely absurd and RNG finds a way to bend you over. The point, though, is to set yourself up with the best opportunity to not get bent over, unless that's what you're into. Nothing wrong with that. But Ben, I don't have the rune depth to ruin a bunch of the same unit. That's okay. You don't need to. You just need one set of runes and you can move them around if you need to. It's better to have the unit and not need it than, not have it and wish you did, as the saying goes. High level players do this all the time, and if you're a low level player, then don't worry about building dupes, except maybe a Karu for the Trikaru Dragons team, but just focus on farming for the most part. If you can farm all areas of the game and you are seeking to improve your offensive performance in Siege, then this video is probably good for you. Anyways, I'm going to be showing you all of my dupes and discuss how I use them or if I happen to regret building it. So let's get into it. All right, so change of scenery. All of a sudden, I'm at my friend's house with my desktop and just sitting at his kitchen table. I don't know how these things happen to me, but anyways, I figured we can just work our way down the list of my monster box here. I have all my dupes out, and I'll just talk about each one. I don't understand Comtuos's organization. Like, I don't get why all the Vigors aren't next to each other, and etc., etc. Like, everyone's just all over the place, and it doesn't matter how I organize it, like level, attribute, type seems to be the best, but like the Yakus are still separate, Zaiross is separate, Garos are separate. I don't know, but it's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It's just something funky. So let's get into it. Vigor, of course, people point out often that I have a bunch of Vigors. He's, I guess, an exception to what I was saying earlier, that you don't need to have your dupes ruined because I use them on defense. And obviously, if you're using a monster on defense, you're going to need to have it ruined. Otherwise, that makes for a pretty lackluster defense. So, for me, all 4 of my Vigors and 3 of my Khmuns are ruined relatively well, I think. I try to have all on Violent. I have 1 Blade, 2 Energy, and 1 on Will. Most scenarios, I don't think he needs Will, at least that I use him for, but it's just for stats. I have 2 at plus 132 to pair with Khmun's leader skill to get him to the 286 breakpoint. He's one of the best guild offense and defense units out there. At least I use him on offense all the time. I don't know if everyone else does, but he's like a great counter to himself. So I use Vigor against Vigor all the time. So if you're like me and you don't own OP LD monsters, Molly, Savannah, etc., your defenses don't necessarily get into towers because towers often have themes. So like our base 10 is an LD tower and I don't have any LDs, so I won't see play in there. Over here we have a Molly tower, don't own Molly, so I won't see play over here. And likewise over here, Savannah, don't have a Savannah, so I won't see play over here. Where I do see play is the 4-star towers. So Khmun Vigor, Skogul, Khmun Vigor, Monty, Khmun Vigor, Beta, Triana, that kind of thing I can make and it sees play. So I ruin the hell out of it. So I can see play a lot. And that's where I get most of my contribution is those 4-star towers. I've shown y'all Khmun Vigor, Monty before. My records aren't all there. Some have been reset, but My Khmun Vigor Skogul did really well last siege. It got lots of wins. If you're lacking good defenses, easiest thing to do is just Khmun Vigor X, where X is usually a win monster. Like, it doesn't need to be Savannah. You can do Ethna, or if you have Qianpeng, or maybe you have some kind of LD monster. Anything that's Khmun Vigor X will probably get you some wins in Guild Wars. So I'm even considering a 5th Vigor just because I use them on offense so often. But anyways, let's just keep working our way down the list. So Elucia. Elucia is like the queen of 4-star towers. She essentially makes it to where you always have half a monster more than the defense does. So she has just insane control. It's like instead of 3v3, it's 3v2.5, and then once you kill one of them, it's 3v1.5. And I say half because it's not like they're completely out of the game, but they're out of the game for the most part. That skill 3 of hers is irresistible, so it's gonna land, assuming you don't glance. Like, you might not land it on a wind monster, but you'll land it on everyone else, or if she has like a glancing debuff on her. But her whole kit is just fantastic, and she's pretty easy to rune. You don't need to rune her violent. I have 1 violent will and then 1 shield will revenge. Rune her efficiently and use her to control 1 unit, bring single target damage doers, kill someone, and then start controlling the next unit and kill him again. I often use like Aegir, Elucia, Vigor, which Not Fishy was a commenter and said that I should try that comp out, and I've really enjoyed it. It's very good. Howdy Man over in Exile, he likes to use Sierra, Elucia, Triana against certain 5-star comps like Khmun, Vigor, Odin. She just is so good. One of the best guild offense monsters out there. I'm seriously considering a 3rd or 4th of her as well, because she's just like perfect at what she does. Her whole kit is really strong. 2 crowd control skills, and then a heal and cleanse, and not super difficult to rune because it's not like you need accuracy. You just want some tankiness, decent amount of speed. I do think you should probably have will runes, at least in most scenarios I bring her into. I think will is nice for her, so she doesn't get defense break-in or bombs or anything else right at the start. And yeah, if you're looking for more wins in Siege, build some Elucias. She's well worth it. Malaka. Not too much to say about Malaka. He's a bomber, so bombers, of course, if you don't land the bomb, you're kind of out of luck because they're super squishy. So you want them to just land their bomb and kill everyone right at the start, or once the bomb actually detonates, and that's all there is to it. I have 2 of them just because he's a good option to have. One is Shield Will, one is Fatal Will. I usually use them in a Shield Will comp, but I know people use like Ciara, Tiana, Malaka. If you have Ciara and Tiana, it's pretty good. You need Malaka faster than Ciara to put on all of his bombs, and then Ciara to detonate all of them immediately. But it's just a good option to have because it can beat so many different things. Like, I use Shield Will, Fran, Malaka, Sian a lot against Khmun Vigor Skogul, and it's like it certainly can lose, but it only loses if the bombs miss. So you for sure want to have 85 accuracy. Like this guy, he has 76, but then I have 10% skill 2 accuracy from artifacts, so I use him a lot more often than this one, who only has 58 accuracy and 8% from his skill 2 artifact there. It's just, you really want the 85 to minimize your chance of failure. Sian is even easier to rune, and I think has a little more utility because of his passive, or more safety, I should say. Like, Malaka's skill 3, it's a good skill, but like it has no use, because what everyone uses Malaka for is not the defense break, it's for the bombs, and that's it. Like, the match doesn't go on long enough for that defense break and attack break to really matter all that much, in my opinion. Whereas Sian, it's like sometimes they violent proc a whole bunch at the beginning and kill someone, and hopefully it's Sian because he gets to come right back. So he adds like an extra layer of safety. I think Malaka's damage is a lot better than Sian's though, if I recall correctly. But Sian doesn't have nearly as much accuracy requirements because his skill 2 gets the 50% accuracy bonus. So you only need 35, which can be even less if you have skill 2 accuracy on your artifacts. So Sian, well worth it. Malaka, well worth it. It's just, like I said, a good option to have. Not necessarily my first choice to bring into an attack, but if, I'm lacking monsters to use, Sian, Malaka, good options. Alright, Galleon. He's the ultimate cleave setup monster. You should have at least 2. He can be used on Swift to pair with the Stripper like Triana or a slower shield will set. Regardless, he's fairly easy to rune. The main thing is to have 85 accuracy because similarly to the bombers, either you land the defense breaks or you're almost certainly going to lose. So set yourself up for minimum failure by getting him to max accuracy. I have 3 builds. One is Swift to pair with Light Chun-Li. I'm sure if you've watched my Siege videos, I use that comp pretty often. So I have some Stripper go and then Galleon and then Light Chun-Li just eats everyone. So that's this one, 92 accuracy on Swift Focus. And then the other 2 are Shield Will. This is the only one that's not at 85, but you can get help from artifacts. Of course, I don't have help from artifacts, so this is the one I use least often. But yeah, double Shield Will fight. Good setups for Galleon. Julie, she's one of the best Shield Will damage doers. So Galleon, Julie, and then some kind of tank usually. Can be Triana, like Golem, Darian, Bella, plenty of options. Basically water Lushen, except you need a defense break with her. I mostly use her against Orion comps where Orion is the only stripper, or with Gemini and Tian against Shayna Martina. Build her the same way you would any shield will damage doer. You just need to have a will set on her and then stack on as much damage as possible. So I have 1 fatal will, 1 shield will blade. Any shield will cleave is RNG related because of Orion. It's where you usually bring her against, but anyways, that's just the way the game is. It's full of RNG. Tarq, I wouldn't say I regret Tarq. If you've played Summoner's War for a long time, you remember the Dark Ages before the Twins, and we used Tarq. So I just have them sitting in storage. 1 is ruined, just cause. I tried to rune them for World Boss at one point, but they're 2-star monsters, so their base stats are so bad, so I can't get them into the 3rd team, despite being water attackers. Someone did suggest to me I could use him in place of Rauk or Lisa with my Yaku counter to Martina Shayna, because he also attacks with 2 other allies, so I don't know, there might be something that I haven't actually tested it, so I could give that a try at some point. So, Rina, for every heavy hitting when damage doer come to us has given us like a very good water tank. There's Rina, Camilla, Water Lizard Man, Talc, the Water Elephant, Battle Mammoth, whatever it's called, can have all the water tanks you want. There's Sierra, Odin, Xingzhe, Fengyan, Tyrannus, and many more when damage doers on defenses that we commonly see. So build water tanks. Rina and Camilla are probably the best at their job, but basically you manipulate the AI and use the other 2 monsters to actually do all the killing for you. So Rina, try to do 100 resistance because you often bring her against Sierra and you don't want the bombs to land. Of course, Sierra will land 4 bombs on you without fail and take all of the turns. But it's, again, the whole point of the video is to have options. Sian, I already talked about Sian basically with Malaka, kind of same thing there, just a bomber. Aegir. So Aegir I really like in today's 4-star meta. His entire kit is very relevant. I think he's definitely worth a decent violent set. I have 1 violent will and 1 violent nemesis. Speed, crit rate, HP. That's not necessarily the way to go, but that's just the runes I had available. He's also pretty easy to skill up since he's in the guild shop, along with the other barbaric kings, so skill ups aren't too big of an issue with him, thankfully. You do want a decent amount of accuracy. I have both at 49. and then again, you can always get accuracy help from your artifacts, because the only time I seem to lose with him is when he doesn't land his skill 3. So you want to land the skill 3. I mentioned that the not fishy guy suggested Aegir, Elucia, Vigor, and I really like that team. I have 2 Elucias, I have 4 Vigors, and now I have 2 Aegirs. Yaku, if you've seen the Martina Shane encounter video, you'll know exactly why I have a dupe Yaku. You see a lot of Martinas in G3 Siege, and he's easily been my safest counter to that defense. So the other counters in that vid have mixed results. Some are strictly rune quality issues, but that's the thing with Yaku. He's super easy to build. Rune quality is pretty low since he awakens into crit rate. It's very nice. So well worth building, in my opinion, if you encounter Martina a lot. Zaiross, I kind of regret. Like, I built him a long time ago. I guess I shouldn't regret it. But I originally built him to have one fast with Galleon and Triana, and then one more of a shield will. I would bring him against like Zero, Ryan, Perna, Khmun, Bastet, Odin, but it's like, if his skill 3 doesn't land, you pretty much lose. So I have some regret. That said, he did help me get to G2 in Arena, because I would have one built Swift to go before Pungbeck to, reset everyone, and Pungbeck would clean up. And then similarly, I had that same comp, but with a fluffer Zaiross, who was just high accuracy and low damage to bring against Halfast, the Light Lich guy. So that way he wouldn't proc the invincibility. He'd get him to like 2/3 of HP rather than 50%, and then Pungbeck could clean up that way. And that was helpful to get the G2 Arena. Dupe Verd, same reason as Yaku. He's great against Shane and Martina. And having 2 is also nice for RTA, at least in older metas. It certainly was nice. So you could have like one triple revenge Verd to be like an anti-cleave Verd, and then one violent revenge to, I don't know, just have another unit to pick. It's good to have options in RTA as well. Perna, similar to Zaiross. At the time I built him, I would use it all the time. I use comps like Jeanne Vigor Perna, Jeanne Bella Perna, stuff like that. It's very bruisery, lots of healing, and it just seems to not die. But in today's Tessarion meta, Perna's a little risky to bring against, so I tend to bring Kumar or my own Tessarion into Tessarion rather than Perna, because I'm too afraid that Tessarion just eats him alive. Again, at the time it was fine. I also, he was all over siege defenses, so having 2 Pernas was good. Right now I think you just see like Zero, Ryan, Perna every once in a while. Not so much in G3 though. So it's still not the end of the world, but it could have been, Ancient Crystals, which would be nice. Dozer's the only single target ignore defense damage dupe I have, but all of them are worth building dupes of, like Copper, Kali, Covenant, Odin. I actually fed a dupe Odin, which I almost immediately regretted, but it's okay. These guys are very versatile, some of the best skilled offensive units out there. That said, people know that and often try their best to build their defenses around them, especially Copper, since he has a condition for ignoring defense. Though with artifacts, defense increasing effects on Copper can make it very hard to make a defensive Copper trap, like Copper trap based on defense. So I think it's better to make a Copper trap based on HP and then stack -1 damage. It's not easy to do, but if you have like Ritesh with a high base HP or some other monster with a really high base HP, Chandra, Skogul, your typical Copper targets, I think you should just stack as much HP as possible and -1 damage to potentially make a Copper trap, but it's not super easy. Dozer and all of those guys are pretty easy to rune. You just want to usually have them on a will set and stack crit rate, crit damage, and then whatever they deal damage based off of. So with Copper and Dozer, you want defense. Covenant, Kali, Odin, all them you want attack. In Dozer's case, you don't really need speed all that much, because he just kills and soaks up damage and then kills again. So I have 1 Rage Will, 1 Shield Will, and Broken. This Violent has 31 crit damage, so that's why that's there. And yeah, I try to get them to 100 crit rate, because I don't always pair with Amnesty. In fact, I rarely do. I usually do Fengyan, Amelia Dozer, or Olivia Dozer Kuni. That's kind of my go-tos there. Alright, so Khmun. I don't use mine on offense too often, except as an occasional speed lead with Tian and Lushen. I know people use Khmun Tian Covenant as well. With those kinds of comps, he provides an extra layer of safety with his sustain and the damage that he can dish out, on top of helping you secure first turn. I'll occasionally use Khmun Vigor Skogul, because again, comps that work well on defense tend to work well on offense. Anyways, I have 3 Khmuns. All 3 are at plus 150 speed. The reason for that is with the 19% leader skill, it gets him to 286, which is right at the 286 breakpoint. And he's 1 speed slower than Vigor, who I have him paired with on defense, to go immediately after Vigor does the defense break. If you're need more or better defenses, you can't go wrong with building more Khmuns, because he's just like arguably the best defense monster in the game for guild content anyways. He does just so much for your team, and also can be ruined so differently. Like, you can build him 100 resistance, you could do violent, you could do despair. I think violent is the best. You could do speed HP, speed crit damage HP. I have mine speed HP, mostly because that's what I have available to get him to plus 150. I think both are good. It just kind of depends on the comp. Like, if the defense you're using him in needs a damage doer, then you should have Khmun on crit damage. But if he's paired with damage doers already, then it's fine to just have him speed HP. Excuse me. Like with Khmun Vigor Skogul, I think he's fine as just a huge tanky build rather than extra damage. But that's just me. It's up to you. Revenge and Destroy are both good offsets, or just go something like Blade to help with stats. It doesn't really matter. So Khmun, Garo, he's this is another one I kind of regret. He's great for siege farming, but there's so many multi-hitters now that I don't often find a comp to bring him into. I know people will still use him with like a Draco with some kind of turn 1 cleave, and I'm sure he's still great in G1 and below, but G3 I haven't really used them since the Susanoo Orion Garo was the 4-star meta, so that was a while ago. I do recommend him built like a glass cannon. Just all you care about is damage, so good speed, crit rate, attack. Mine are runes like poop because I just don't use them. You might also want like a little bit of accuracy for the stun and the dot, but for the most part, just stack speed, crit rate, crit damage, attack, and go Vampire Nemesis, and he is certainly pretty good. Alright, Harmonia. She's one of those units that always seems to overperform for me. She's fantastic against Molong and Skogul in particular. I think she's best built Violent Nemesis on 100 resistance, and I only have one built like that. The other one's kind of crappy. I feel like I should start just moving, just leave this one unruined and move the good set onto the other one when I need her, because I don't use them on defense. Not that she's bad on defense. I know Molong, Harmonia, Tyrannus see some play, not so much in G3. Sometimes like in the back line you'll see it, but not so much in the front line. Her skill 3 is like random targeting, so that's always good to have on defense. Anything random is good. Another good thing about Harmonia is you can fuse skill ups, so skill ups aren't horrible. I mean, no, fusing is annoying, but it's better than waiting to summon them. So Harmonia, very good dupe to have for siege offense. Alright, Lushen. I don't know what you can say about Lushen. If you have a fat enough Lushen, truly any defense is like nothing to you. I often get salty when there's a defense I'm struggling with, and then Prodan or Tofu and this new guy in our guild too just hop in there with their ridiculous 18k Lushens with no fear in their eyes and just destroy whatever it is, because he just kills everything. It's like just the ultimate cleave monster that Comtuous has made that everyone needs. And you only need one good rage set, and you can just pair him with some speed leader or some attack leader and a monster like Tian or Kona or Dova that increases attack bar. to 100% and then kill whatever you want. That said, it's kind of a rune quality issue, that offense. It's like, do you trust your rage set? So some people with their insane rage sets can absolutely reuse it over and over and over. Another mon they use is Mephisto, the wind demon, for like Perna, Tyrannus, silliness. He just makes it not matter. So you just get wins with a good rage set Lushen. Mine is okay. It's gotten better recently, which is nice. Skill 3 crit damage is not ideal. You'd rather just like a quad roll into additional damage by attack, but this is like the best that I found so far. So Triana, she makes Odin defenses significantly less scary. A water unit, usually a defense breaker, Triana, and a fire damage doer like Rocky. I hear a bunch of different ways to pronounce her. We'll go with Rocky. Her or Tessarion. That's just the easiest Odin counter to use. I also like to use her with Galleon and Sieg against like Khmun, Orion, Savannah. Just any kind of shield will cleave with Galleon and some AoE damage to her. She just adds, an extra layer of safety, and that's what I like to have. I just built my third Triana. I have one Violent Endure with 100 resistance, just super tanky. I think I use this one on defense, and that's why it's ruined the way it is. And then the other two are just Shield Will X, basically. This one is missing a Will rune. I think I moved it onto Lauren, so I could do the Predator, because Will's kind of important for Predator. Not like you can't beat it without Will runes, but it just makes it safer. I'm all about that safety, So, Triana, well worth it. This one, I'm not sure if I'm going to skill up. I feel like I'm only going to use this one with the Shield Will Galleon Siege comp. That's another one I don't really know how to pronounce. The Dark Samurai. Siege? 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 I don't know. Siege sounds bad. But yeah, Triana, you could have 5 Trianas because Odin's everywhere, and she makes Odin comps not so bad. Skogul's worth building at least 2, I think. If you're siege farming, you could build 10. For arena offense, triple Skogul Amelia can beat pretty much anything. It can be a bit slow, but it works well. Leo, Amelia, double Skogul also is a good offense. A girl in my guild finished G2 with Skogul offenses, so it's pretty strong. My second Skogul I don't really use because I don't have, or certainly not on defense, because its set is just not as good. Like 10k HP difference, less resistance, less defense. So I have one Skogul ruined, very stat heavy for the one that I use on defense, and then the other one was just kind of there. I think I've used it maybe 3-4 times on siege offense, and certainly not on defense. But I have used it in arena because I tend to just auto arena. Since I got G2, I won't try for G3 unless I like pull some off or something. Then I might go for G3. Okay, so Fran, she is fantastic in so many areas of the game. She's best built on Violent Will, but since she isn't anything special on defense, I don't want to give my good violent sets to monsters that aren't being used on defenses. So instead I built her Shield Will X. So I have Shield Will Accuracy and a Will Fight Determination, just to help whoever she's paired with on offense. I often use the Accuracy one with Malaka and Sian. Hopefully make the bombers a little more wanting to land their bombs. That would be nice, because otherwise you lose. The Shield Will, or the Determination Fight one, I often use with Jeanne, just to give Jeanne some more stats, the Wind Rakshasa, which is really nice in 4-star Siege. I'll use Jeanne, Fran, and Vigor. So I have a defense breaker. Jeanne hits super hard and takes a bunch of turns. And then Fran is just a really solid support. She's easy to rune, easy to skill up. So I highly recommend building more Frans. I can't remember if plus 128 is on purpose or if that just happens to be what both of their speeds are. I would have to look at my speed calculator, but anyways, Jeanne, Jeanne, I don't know. I think Mystery Hunt said it's supposed to be like French, like Jeanne. But I hear most people say Jeanne. I don't care. We'll go with Jeanne. I originally built 2 for defenses because she was, you know, all over the meta at one point. Now you really only see Jeanne, Vigor, Odin on defense, which can do pretty well. Mine's still doing, you know, a little bit better than a 1-to-1 ratio, so that's win-to-loss ratio, I should say. You also see like Artemil, Darien, Jeanne comps, but Artemil, you know, that doesn't exist. That's fake news. So I run the Jeanne, Vigor, Odin. And then I only have one really good set, so I use that one on defense. That's Violent Nemesis, super stat heavy, just lots of HP, lots of defense, 59 resistance to pair with her leader skill. That's another annoying nerf that happened, kind of like the Khmun speed lead. She used to have 55% resistance lead, and then changed to 41, so I had to find more resistance for her, but I made it happen because she's worth it. The main thing is I use her on offense. Like, she's so good on offense. She has a ton of control. Any kind of bruisery defense, I bring her and 2 other bruisers, and it's like, and obviously 1 destroy set because they can take a while, but it like never dies ever. So Jeanne, Vigor to Sarion. I was saying Perna. I used to use Jeanne, Perna, Vigor, Jeanne, Perna, Bella. It's a really, really good offense that, like, if I don't know what to bring, I'll just bring that because more often than not, it does really well. So that is all of the dupes I own currently. A dupe I'm currently working on, though, is Tractor. I think he's well worth it. I use him a whole lot in 4-star Siege. He's another one of those water tanks, but rather than putting up a shield or cleansing himself, he just can't be defense broken. And the benefit with him is he's got the provoke, and he can dish out a decent amount of damage himself. Also the skill 1 stun, which lands a lot more often than the provoke does, I'll have to admit, but I use him a lot against, what's her name, Miho, Dark Kitty. Like Galleon, Clara, Dark Kitty is a defense you see often, and I'll bring in like a triple water team with Tractor. And of course they're going to get stunned. 2 of them would get defense broken. 1 of them will probably die because Miho's usually on Violent and will proc and kill 1 of them. But I don't know, it seems to get wins. I usually bring Tractor, Sian, and Vigor, I think, something like that. So if Sian dies, it doesn't really matter. If Vigor dies, it kind of sucks, but as long as Sian lands the bombs, then it should be fine. Another one I was thinking of is Kali, the fire high elemental, because right now I have Covenant and Chloe runed up for that Kali Chloe Covenant team, but my current Kali's ruined with Odin Bastet, so it's like fast Kali, and I need a second slow Kali. I see people use it often, and it's just another option I could have. Some Nat 5 dupes I would build if I actually summon them would be Fang, for sure. Amelia probably, maybe Molong and Bulwark, Odin. Like I was saying earlier, I regretted feeding Odin. The thing with Bulwark is like he's best used with Wusa or Amelia, and I already use Fang with Amelia. So I kind of, if I summoned a dupe Bulwark, I don't think I'd feed him right away, but I'd wait a bit to see if I can, you know, get another immunity monster. Because without an immunity monster, he's just like, well, I have beta, so I could do Bulwark beta. I don't know, it's just, it's a little risky, but overall Bulwark's kind of OP. Like, when you build your defense, you shouldn't build around Molong, Bulwark, Wusa. That's an insanely good offense that can beat almost anything. Basically, the whole point of this video is to have options for your Siege offense. A lot of them. The more options you have on offense, the better you should perform in Siege. You could say, you know, I don't want to build dupes, and Comtua shouldn't let us spam the same defenses over and over to force us to build dupes. To which I'd say, that's not what this video is about. I'm not trying to make an argument for or against or suggest to Comtua a different way to do anything. I'm simply saying this is how Siege works, and the winning strategy is to build dupes. So build dupes. If you made it this far into the video, just want to say appreciate you. I'm currently at 317 subscribers, so over 300, which is pretty crazy. Didn't expect that. So thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.